All right, so we're live on episode number 18 of the Stagger tapes, and this week, probably my biggest guest so far is Sunshine Tyler Courtney. So thanks for sitting down, man.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So I thought first off, I'd just congratulate you on your second USAC title this year. First in the midget, obviously, and your second one overall, because you've got that sprint car one already.
Yeah, so we got the sprint car one 18, and we got our midget one this year. So it's just been it's crazy. The last couple of years, just been kind of like a couple of dream seasons. Our sprint car season, we won the championship, kind of nothing went wrong, and then like this year, trying to back up the sprint car championship, seemed like everything went wrong, but on the midget side, everything was going right. So it was kind of hard to be bummed about one side or the other, and it's just crazy. So not like starting out, USAC racing in 2013. I never, I just wanted to win a race, let alone a championship. So to have two now, and I'm one away from being a Triple Crown champion. So just the Silver Crown's tough, and finding a pavement ride for that, but hopefully I can do that before the time I retire. But if I don't, the accomplishments I got to do so far is pretty cool.
I was going to ask that. I was going to say, you've obviously the Silver Crown's the only one that's really left over, but you guys are still going to run full-time midget this year?
Yeah, so we'll still do full-time midget, and then we're just finishing up details for the rest of our sprint car side of it. We're going to try and do some wing racing. We haven't really announced any of it yet, but I think it's pretty much everyone knows we're going to do some wing stuff, and then kind of just hit and miss with the non-wing car, and go to the bigger shows. There's a couple of big shows at Eldora. There's a big race at Knoxville this year, and SmackDown at Kokomo, and maybe a couple of sprint wing shows here and there. Just kind of see what makes sense, and it's kind of depend on how the rest of it's going as well, and on how much of that side we do. But it'd be fun to kind of go in a transition period here to hopefully get full-time wing racing, and try and become a World of Outlaw, because in the States, if you're an outlaw, and that's the best, that's the highest you can be with out without being in NASCAR or IndyCar or something like that. So those are the guys that that all of them truly do it for a living, and it's cool to watch them compete 90 times a year in one series. So it's just incredible, getting to Brad Sweet over the last couple of years, just seeing him grow as a racer and a competitor, and as a champion now, has been incredible. So those are the guys you kind of strive to be, and Brad's kind of had the same background I have, coming from midgets and non-wing cars, and working his way up to the top level. He's been in NASCAR, didn't work out, so he came back, and now he's a World of Outlaw champion.
Is that the direction that you and your whole team are planning on going in, or is it just they're just kind of helping you get going?
I think so. Midgets are our backbone, and it's what we love, midget racing at Clausen Marshall, and so it's kind of hard to get away from that. But I think as a whole, especially with Richard's ties to his outlaw team with Ricky Stenhouse, I think we can kind of see transitioning that way a little bit without having to get rid of midgets. But to me, especially now, I've kind of done what I wanted to do with the midgets. There's still some races I'd like to win, but I would like to try and start focus on making a really good career. And to do that, you got to go wing racing with really you got to be an outlaw. So if we can try and make that happen, we'll try and make it happen. But if not, we'll stay with the midgets and non-wing cars, and kind of do what we know. But now I'm excited for the challenge. I think the rest of us are too, to just kind of take a new step, kind of go out of our box a little bit.
So you talk about how complex they are really just then, and we were talking just before we started on this at how difficult it was getting in the car first time after 2 years back at Knoxville, which you said yourself, probably the hardest place it is to run. So how tough was that? Can you put it into words? Or
it's hard to explain, but I mean, it's just, there's so much that goes into, like, a wing car. I think you hear a lot of people describe this. A wing car is probably one of the easier cars to drive, like just drive, but to be fast and competitive in it is probably one of the hardest things. And when you go to a place like Knoxville during the Knoxville Nationals, I think that's even elevated a little bit more. And that place is probably, like I told you before, is probably one of the hardest places you'll ever race. And I think if you ask anybody that has ran there, they'll probably agree. Like, the guys that make it look easy around there, I respect the hell out of them. David Gravel, he he made it look easy this year, but I know he spent a lot of time figuring that place out to make it look like where he's at now. Same with Donnie. Donnie spent a lot of times, where he wasn't winning 10 or 12 Knoxville Nationals. He was the guy trying to figure it out, and then I think once you do figure it out, it does become a little easier. But it's just that place is tough, and then when you throw all the, everybody's getting better too. So all the cars are elevated, and drivers are getting better, crews are getting better. It's just it's insane. You go to that place, I kind of like there in Chili Bowl, and I think even when you come to the Springs, it's hard to explain to people like the atmosphere and what it takes to be fast at those places. It's hard to explain without you actually going and seeing. Everybody always asks, like, oh, what's the Springs like? It's kind of hard to explain until you go see it. You know what I mean? And the Knoxville Nationals, you can try to explain it, but until you go see it, you're never going to quite understand what it is. Same with Chili Bowl. Chili Bowl is a whole nother mindset, really, when you get down there. And, like, it's a big party for a lot of people, and it's a great event. And it's insane, like, how hard it is. Like, I mean, usually the cream rises, but you got to have a lot of luck on your side, and you got to have a good race car all week. And if you have one bad race, that's your whole weekend. So it's just it's crazy. But yeah, wing cars are tough. They're probably, like I said, they're easy to technically drive, but to be fast in them is a whole other story.
So obviously, like you're saying, it's easy to drive, and then once you kind of get into a pack. I mean, I was listening to Zeb's podcast on Open Red last week, and he was talking about how difficult dirty air is and how tough it is.
It's weird, and like you think you got it figured out, and you go, all right, I got this figured out, and then all of a sudden you're all balled up tight, almost hitting the fence, and you're like, all right, well, I got to start over. I thought I had it figured out, but of course I didn't. So yeah, it's just crazy because there's sometimes you can follow a guy in and it's fine, and then you're watching all the guys that do it all the time. You're like, man, those guys, they can follow in pretty close. But man, if you're not peaked out a little bit, or if you're directly behind that guy, you're screwed. You have no air on you, so you're getting tight. And if you're at a place like Knoxville, if you're up on the fence, you get tight. There's not a lot of room from the cushion to the wall, so you could be in the fence in a hurry. And it's just that stuff that you got to learn too, because it's on restarts too. If you get stuck behind too close on a guy on a restart, you have no air on your front, so that you're pushing through the fence, and there's probably 2 or 3 guys driving underneath you. And it's gonna be a learning experience, but I'm looking forward to it. It's a new challenge, and I'm excited about it.
With all these new and different like complexities, is it just you figuring it out race by race, or have you got people that you're talking to? Are you talking to those top guys like Gravel and Brad and stuff?
So I'm very fortunate to have somewhat of a close relationship with most of those guys that are top of the game right now. Like I've talked to Donnie quite a bit. Larson obviously is a really good wing sprint car driver. So I have Brad Sweet, David, those guys that I can luckily bounce stuff off of, and try and ask as much as I can. And most of the time, even at the track, if those guys aren't there, I feel like I have the respect from other guys that I can go up and ask them, and hopefully they don't think I'm stealing their secrets or anything. I'm just honestly trying to figure it out. And so it's been fun, the few races I've got to do to kind of see what they see when I'm driving, what they tell me to do, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's going to be a race by race thing. I'm going to be learning the whole time, and hopefully it doesn't take too long to transition over. But I am mentally ready for if we are sucking for a little bit, that I'm going to have to figure it out and make myself better, and hopefully make us better as a team as well.
How many races are you looking at doing?
I think we've got around 40 to 45 races on the schedule so far, and just kind of, like I said earlier, see how it goes, kind of what makes sense, what we're going to do between running like all-star races and outlaw races. If we feel like we're pretty competitive, we'll probably try and do more outlaw races, but if not, we'll probably stay back and do all-star races, or local Attica, Fremont, stuff over in Ohio that's not too far, to just kind of get our feet wet and get our bearings straight before we go race with the big dogs, and try not to make ourselves look too foolish.
Who's the main guy who's helping you out with that sprint car stuff? Is it just you're taking your non-wing team over, or is it?
So we'll just we got 2 new chassis for the wing stuff, but yeah, it's basically we're just taking our non-wing team and making a wing team essentially, but we'll still have 1 or 2 non-wing cars that it'll sit there just for the races that we're going to do, and then But yeah, then Rizzy he left. His last race was Chili Bowl, so he's off to do the USAC deal again with the Rheinbold team. So right now we're just kind of Tim he'll be back to crew chief in the midget and the non-wing car, and we're just kind of working on finding a guy to help us at the track for the wing stuff. I think Tim's capable of doing it, but I think he would like to have somebody there to help him with the learning process as well. So it's be interesting. So hopefully we can find somebody that's willing to help us and make us fast right out of the gate. So like I said, our transition isn't too bad.
That's good. I mean, there's a lot of people looking forward to this year in both cars. I thought we'd just talk about your time so far here in New Zealand. You've run 8 races, I suppose, since
I think
the internationals.
Something like that. So what did we do? 6 internationals?
Yeah.
And then the title, and then I ran at Ellesmere too.
So, true. Yeah, so 9. Yeah. What do you think of Ellesmere?
It was actually really good. They said it used to be pretty crappy, it didn't have a wall or anything like that, and so. But honestly, it was actually really going there. I didn't have high expectations, but once we left there, the track was actually really good, and we were a little off on the car, but it raced really well in the heat races, and the feature was right up on the fence, and it was a little dusty, but it was in the middle of the afternoon, so just but yeah, like I said, expectations weren't very high, but they've actually done a pretty well job with that place down there. It was pretty cool, but. It's always, like I tell these people, it's hard to compare once you've ran at the Springs, because the Springs is just, I think bar none, the one of the nicest places, even from when we race in the States. There's a lot of places that don't compare to it. But yeah, I love coming down here. This is it's always a lot of fun, especially internationals. We get 6 or 7 of us Americans, and it's kind of our vacation at the same time. And Kyle brings his family, Chris brought his family this year, so we get to do a lot of cool things, and it's just, and like I said earlier, it's until you experience this place, it's hard to explain to other people what it's actually like. So I try to get as many people to come down here as we can, just so they can experience it. But it's a hard time of year to come down during Christmas and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I love it. I love coming down here.
What's the mindset like when you guys come down here? I mean, you hear a lot of people, when they talk about it, they say it's like you guys are on holiday, all you American guys, because it really is time off from that full-time tour.
It is technically our holiday, but at the same time, we're competitors, we're racers, so when we show up to the racetrack, it's still, it's business time, you know what I mean? And because this is your guys' heart of the season, so we know you guys are going to be taking it serious. If we don't take it serious, then you guys you're going to beat us, and we don't like losing. We're competitors, so. And I think especially the last couple of years I've been so close winning races down here, and stuff happening. So each year I've kind of had a chip on my shoulder coming back that I want to win, and especially at the Springs, I'd won at Huntley and Bay Park, but I'd never even ran on the podium at the Springs until this year. So it was we worked hard over the last year or so putting what we've got together. And it worked out. We finally got to win a couple races at the Springs. I wanted to win the 50 lapper, but we're just a little off. And Michael's tough to beat when he's out the front like that. So just it's been a great this trip's been really great. We didn't run good at the title or anything like that, but getting to go experience new racetracks and be a part of your guys' championships and just kind of seeing how the rest of the world kind of does things is, it's interesting. It's cool. And, it's things that, I can take back and, suggest to maybe our series, a couple things that I liked or just, some of that. So it's just been interesting. And, it's because at home, our championship is a season long. It's not a weekend. And it's just, it's crazy.
It's probably, there's a lot of guys here who agree that it should be a season long. We've had a couple of titles. I don't know how many years ago now, maybe 12, 13 years ago, but there's a sprint car title and a guy who pretty much had no competition throughout the whole year, and then randomly out of nowhere wins the title, and then he gets the 1NZ for the whole year, but he hasn't been competitive the whole year, so it's kind of, there is a big flaw in it. There is,
and I think there's arguments for both sides of that, but, if all the best guys are there, and you beat them, technically you beat all the best guys. I know. I agree. I think it maybe should be a season-long thing to, if somebody can be good for, 25 or 30 races versus one, then I think that proves a lot more of of maybe how good not only the car but like the team is, and I think it'd be a little more rewarding for the team, working their ass off all year to go for that championship. But at the same time, you guys put just as much work in, all year leading up to your title race, that all of you guys are ready, and you know what to expect going into that weekend. You have to be spot on every time you're on the racetrack, put yourself in a good spot for the feature, and hopefully have a good feature. Hopefully nothing happens, and I think Michael's at the point now where I think he's almost done it so much now that he can, like, when he shows up to that race, he knows what he has to do. He does it, and I think a lot of guys, they got to get that first one to kind of just to let it click, let it figure it out. And I think I noticed the same thing when I won my sprint car championship. Kind of certain things just kind of clicked after that. Certain things got a little easier or maybe a little harder sometimes, because you're trying to back up what you did before, but at the same time, you've got the pressure off. You already got the championship, so another one's just kind of a bonus.
Is it jumping from series to series, from the midget to the sprint car to the Silver Crown stuff? Is there any change in mindset when you're getting in, or is it?
Midget and sprint car races are pretty similar. The Silver Crown races, you gotta be prepared for a long race. It's 100 100-mile races, so it's just a different mindset, because you've spent your whole life doing sprint races. You're go, but then the Silver Crown is like, all right, you got to be patient for at least 50 laps, and then if you feel confident, go. But if you use your stuff up, then those guys that maybe we're just hanging back a little bit longer than you, they're going to be coming at the end, and hopefully you didn't use all your stuff up to hold them off. But so it's just it's been interesting, the last couple of years figuring out the Silver Crown series, and it's crazy. And I think we've honestly picked up the pace a lot in the Silver Crown races with how good the cars are now, and the tracks have gotten better, so we don't use up as many tires now, so we can race a little harder for the whole race, and that becomes even more intense, racing hard on a big mile track for 100 laps. It's crazy, and it's insane. Like those Silver Crown is another thing that it's kind of hard to explain how they are until you actually do it, especially on a mile. A mile is incredible. It's just all male down the half mile, 3/4 long straightaway, and then just throw this big boat into the corner and let it float, and then pick up the throttle, because they're just 360 engines, so they don't have a whole lot of power, and the cars are super heavy, so they're never really going to do anything dumb. They don't bike up. They don't do anything fun. So they're interesting. They're a cool race car.
I was gonna ask also how different it is with that massive tail tank.
The beginning of the races are interesting, because you're trying to use all the brake you can get, and you just cannot press that thing hard enough. So you're trying to give yourself enough gap so you don't run over the guy in front of you. But yeah, at the same time, you got all that. We've got 70 gallons. So I don't know how many liters that is, but 70 gallons of fuel back there to start the race, and it's a lot of weight moving around. And once those things start to come around with all that weight, they just go around, and it's hard to get them stopped, because it doesn't matter how good of brakes you got. It's hard to stop those things at the beginning of the race. It gets a little easier at the end, but it's just crazy. So yeah, the first few laps are always pretty interesting.
Those things are pretty ridiculous as well. The amount of time that, like you were saying before, the guys who do just hang out, the amount of time that they can actually make up at the end of the race if they've got the stuff ready.
Yeah, it's insane. I think Cody Swanson's probably one of the best guys at it. He's really good at saving his stuff and not letting guys get too far. And he really comes on strong at the end of the races. So, I've kind of tried to gauge myself off of him when we're racing. Last few races, I've just been happening to starting around him. So I tell because we have spotters and those deals too. So I tell him, just, if I'm in front of Cody, just don't let me get too far, and don't let him. I try not to let him get past me. If he has a good run, I'll let him get by me. But if you can keep pace with Cody for the race, you're probably going to be in a good chance to be a good shot at contending for the win at the end of it, because he's usually the guy you got to beat.
It's there's a few guys who have kind of come through, have kind of been that. It's similar to, people always call it now, that Donny Schatz effect, where it's just like it's domination for so long.
And that's Cody right now.
It's
Silver Crown.
It's
you hate it racing against him, but at the same time, as just respecting the sport, seeing what he's doing history-wise is incredible. So you think about all the guys that have driven in the Silver Crown series throughout the years, AJ Foyt, Mario Andretti, all those people. and he's breaking all of their records and setting new records. So when you sit back and think about that you're actually getting to watch this in real time is pretty incredible.
It's kind of like that with Michael now. Michael Pickens down here is there's a whole lot of
you hate it when you're racing against him, but, you know, in 20 years you're gonna be sitting like, man, I got to see Michael Pickens, do all these things in real time, and if you can take that and mentally make note of it to yourself, like, I mean, he's making everyone better down here. I know it sucks watching him win a lot, but it's just it's how it goes. At home there's guys that they beat you every week, and it sucks. But at the same time, you just got to use that to make yourself better.
I think it's good. We also get Zach down here for quite a long time throughout the year as well.
Yeah, and he even makes Michael step his game up. So it's just that's like talking to you and a few other Kiwis that because some people are always like, you guys come down here and win, but we come down here, we want to win, but we come down here to it helps everyone. It helps the whole sport. It helps bring everybody up, and we're here to help. I feel like we've always been pretty friendly on asking, or if you guys ask for what because we see a lot at home. You guys don't get to race as much as we do, so any bit of knowledge that we can try and help, because it's fun when everybody's fast. It's fun because you're beating everybody at the top of their top level.
Yeah, I know that's what a lot of people fail to see, and a lot of people don't like Michael. I don't know if it is because he wins too much.
It probably is. A lot of people don't like Donnie Schatz. People didn't like Sammy Swindell. People didn't like Steve Kinzer.
The amount of people boo when Donnie wins is ridiculous.
And it's just it's just. But at the same time, they're still making noise for him. So it's I think it's some people don't like winners. Everybody. It's funny because you like him when he starts winning, and then when he's winning too much, you don't like him. But at the end of the day, he's just good. So you have to respect it, and if you don't like it, you don't like it. But at the end of the day, he's not going to stop winning.
He's pretty good as well. As himself and Brad were both real good at it. You can just go up and ask them things, and they're happy to feedback. Obviously, they won't help you too much.
Yeah, nah. Well, you have your little secrets, but most things. It's on. If you got guys out there that don't really know what they're doing, I'm always going to help those guys, because it's gonna, one, it makes our racing safer. Two, if you keep bringing everybody up, then the competition is gonna get better, and then the racing is gonna get better, and that's just good for everybody. So it's just it's cool. It's a cool experience. But yeah, people don't like winners, and I don't think it's ever gonna change. But it's just how it goes.
For sure. What have you noticed in terms of the difference between obviously the package that you've got in the States and the package you got here? So it's you got this
SR11 Spike at home, and then it's King Toyota down here. So I don't know. It's hard to say because the tracks are so different down here.
Yeah.
And everybody's always, what do you like better, a Toyota or SR11? And I think they're so different that it's kind of hard to compare the two. They both have their pros and they both have their cons, so it's hard to compare them, especially without, I've never ran an SR11 down here, I've never ran a Toyota at home, so it's kind of hard to compare. And especially down here, I have a whole different package. I have a King versus a Spike, and that's all different. So
you're on CSIs up there as well.
Yeah, right? That's about the only thing I have the same is my shocks. So that's really the only similarity I have down here. But both have seemed to I think they're both good in their own unique way. So I think down here, Justin's got a pretty good handle on everything, and he's been pretty friendly with helping us get a baseline set up and stuff like that. He's not going to give us too much so we don't beat Michael, but it's just it's been cool. King's the only thing I've ever driven down here. So when Bill Rumble, he was a fan. I met him on one of Bryce's tours, and he's like, "What do you want?" I just told him a King because that's what we've been running since I've been down here. So that's what I was comfortable in. And then, it's just cool to see a fan kind of turn into a car owner, and incredible to get him a couple wins. His first year doing this, he probably thinks it's super easy, but that's how it goes sometimes. Sometimes things just happen right off the bat, and sometimes it takes a while to get it.
And I mean, it definitely helps, obviously, having someone like you, and you're coming down here with all this momentum from your USAC.
It came off our championship.
Yeah, exactly
and,
right.
You know, like I said, I've been close the last couple of years down here, and you know, Springs is probably one of my favorite racetracks. So I've got a good handle on that. I just could never break through and you know, finally win. And then once we did it, you know, we knocked off 2 in a row, and then we ran second in the 50 lapper. But it's just it sucked the first couple of years, you know, leading a lot of the races down here, and then just, you know, dumb stuff happening and being so close and never getting it. So, you know, getting those wins this year meant a lot, and it was cool to finally get that monkey off my back and you know, get those wins. Like I said, we come down here for the 50 lapper. I think that's everybody's biggest race all year, and then you know, running second sucks, but it was the first year I got to finish it, so it was cool to get that experience, and you know, hopefully come back next year and, you know, hopefully get one spot better.
Everyone always used to wind Brian up all the time because he never quite get it. And then obviously everyone was saying that it's good because it keeps him coming back.
Yeah.
He's probably too good to keep coming back.
Yeah. So and that was the thing. Like I always talked to him about that. I was like, man, you win all those races, but you never win the 50 lapper. And he's like, I know. I just can't ever do it. And it was really cool for him. I know he was really excited when he finally got that one. And but yeah, it does. It keeps me coming back. I know that because I probably won't be satisfied until I win at least one.
Yeah, I mean, how strange was that tire delaminating at Huntley?
Man, that was crazy. So like I was telling Bryce, like I've never even had one at home do that. And we run a lot. We run Hoosiers at home, but like I've seen guys delaminate Hoosiers and American racers at home, but yeah, I've never had one do it that big of a chunk. But yeah, it's just crazy because it sucks. I feel like we had that night covered too, but. Just how it goes. It's racing. You're gonna win. You're gonna lose, and unfortunately, you're gonna lose a lot more than you're ever gonna win. So,
were you wondering what the vibration was?
Yeah. So I slowed down. I slowed way down, just like trying to make. I didn't know how many laps were left, and I didn't know if it was gonna be like Bay Park where they might call it with like 10 laps to go or something, or 10 laps in or 17. I don't know how many we ran, but so I was just trying to finish, and then it finally let go there, and I had to pull in, and then there was only like 6 laps left or something. So that was a bummer, but you know, like I said, it's racing, and it's just you're gonna have some bad luck, you're gonna have some good luck, and just that's racing.
You talked about a little bit before, sorry, how different the tracks are from here to over there.
Yeah, so all the tracks down here are mainly flat. Back home, we've got a few tracks that are flat, but they're mostly indoors. Most tracks we race everywhere, it's got some banking. Some places don't have walls, some places do have walls, and it's just, and they're narrow down here too. Not a lot of room for passing and stuff like that, which I think makes the racing a little better most times, and it's close racing. Yeah, it's just they're different. Just dirt's a little different, you know, just a little bit. It's kind of hard to explain, but yep, the biggest difference is that we've got a little more room to move around at home and more banking. So the banking is a little more forgiving most nights, but I think that's what makes a lot of these places special, especially the Springs. The Springs, if you changed it, it wouldn't be what it is, I don't think.
I know the one thing that I kind of struggled with when I first got to Valvoline in Australia and ran in Sydney was if you're changing lanes, like at the Springs, if you change lanes, you're really only changing your view by a small amount, you know. But in Sydney, if you were going to change, if you were going to go to the top,
it's a long way around. It's a long way around it.
And
yeah, so I've never ran there, but I've watched a lot of races there, and it is like the bottom to the top. There's a big difference.
And I mean, you guys run Eldora, all of these places that are so
massive.
Wide.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, it probably makes it a little easier coming down here to go directly to top because it's not that far around for us, especially coming from places like Eldora, and we ran Belleville a couple times and stuff like that. Those are big racetracks. I mean, you're running around the top of there, it's a long way around, but around the top of the Springs to us isn't really that far.
I think that's what influenced your because you won the 40 this year as well. Like, yeah, and you were the only car who stayed up there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't even know you stayed
I got
up.
nervous because Zach's really good around the bottom. He showed me there on the restart. I'm like, man, I know if I can just get my momentum back up here, I'll be all right. And it took one lap longer than I thought it was going to, but it worked out. And but yeah, I knew the bottom had to be somewhat good if Zach was hanging with me there on the restart. But I hadn't ran down there, so I wasn't going to change my lineup. And you know, so I just stuck my guns to the top.
We come from quite a long way back in that race, and it was funny watching everyone slowly get a little bit scared of the top and then disappear off the top. It
got like all the way to the concrete, and I think both ends, like right at apex, it was right on the concrete. So it was wild, but I don't know. I love running the top. So if if I can do that over running the bottom, I'm probably going to do that most of the time.
What do you do when it does get up on the concrete like that? Do you try and like get off it and get back on it, or are you kind of...
So like especially at the springs, it's usually got quite a bit getting in and getting off. So you're getting in, trying to get in hard, and then backpedal a little bit to where you're kind of just driving straight through the concrete part, so you're not hammering into it, but you got to keep your momentum up at the same time, because when you get back to the thick stuff on the other side, you got to have a wheel spin or you're going to be too tight and hop over it and all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of things just from racing at home. It's stuff I never think about when I'm racing until afterwards, and I'm trying to explain it to people. But yeah, it's just I don't know, it's tricky. Like, I think the place that's taught me the most about running the top is probably either Kokomo or Eldora, because those are places you have to be perfect. If you're not perfect, you're usually crashing. So it's just it's insane.
Speaking of Eldora, that race there this year was
incredible.
That was one
so
of
we're
the
going to have
best
2
midget
races this year now. So it'll be the same 4-crown weekend, but we're going to run midgets with the World of Outlaws the first night, and then the regular 4-crown the next night. So hopefully we live up to the expectations, and we can get some more races at places like Eldora and stuff like that, because I think it does produce really good racing. The midgets at home right now are so competitive, it's unreal.
A lot of people complain about how slick Eldora is now, but I mean, when you watch races like that, it's not a problem to the racing.
Well, and that's the people that are complaining about it being slick is it's the guys that don't have a handle on their race car. You know what I mean? So, if you got a good race car around there, it's slick. Most of the time, it's on the fence. So you got to be brave. You got to have a good race car to get around the top. But like we did, there was three guys that knew how to get around the place. 3 really good race cars, and we had a badass race. And everybody can say, oh, it's slick and dusty, but at the end of the day, that's probably one of the best races we saw all year, and probably one of the slickest racetracks. But those guys didn't complain because they figured out their race car and they figured out how to get around the place. So yeah, it's frustrating when people try to say, oh, it's too slick, but a place like that, you don't want it to be super hooked up and fast, because then we're going fast when it's slick anyway. When it's hooked up and fast, those guys go crashing. You're going to start hurting people.
Yeah, I remember a lot of people throwing their arms up when Spencer crashed a couple of years ago, but that had nothing to do with track.
No, that was him. He actually ran over my left, like he got in hot behind me, ran over my left rear, and that was just, that's high speed crashing. It is what it is. It had nothing to do with the track being slick. He was already on the fence.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't him sliding into the fence that people try to say, oh, it's too slick, so you just slide at the fence. But no, he was already on the fence when he hit it, and just a massive crash.
Yeah, I suppose the alternative is it could be slick around the bottom, couldn't it?
Yeah, and then they would. There's always something for people to complain about. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's just yeah. And I know people don't want to see us idling around the bottom at Eldora, because that's not what Eldora is.
Yeah. What do you think of format down here?
I actually like it. I think there's a few too many rules. Yeah. On some things, but at the format, I think actually is really it's a quick program, and usually the track ends up being pretty good because you're not burning up with qualifying and all that kind of stuff. And even when we do qualify, it's with 3 cars at a time, so it goes by pretty quick. But I like the 2 heats, and if you crash in a heat race, you're done. I like that, and just for the fact that it speeds up, it makes the program go really fast. I mean, the Springs has a lot of cars each night, and we're out of there. I don't think I've ever been here where we hit curfew.
Yeah, we haven't really been that close in the last few years either. It's ran pretty good, and I mean, since the tracks have got better, I mean, you've only really been coming down when the tracks have been good.
Yeah.
I don't know how many years ago it is now.
I watched the first meeting this year, and I was like, man, I hope they get it figured out for the internationals. But that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
It was the first. I think it was the first race, and that's like everybody's trying to figure out everything again, and just how it goes.
But I mean, every track gets like that.
Yeah, exactly.
We saw, what was it? It was Ventura this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of things you can't control. It's just it rained for 3 days there. They couldn't control that, and it's just it was frustrating as a competitor, but hats off for them for sticking out and trying it. And Turkey Night's one of our biggest races, so they wanted to make sure we got it in.
That would have been nuts on track that rough with a full tank of gas.
It was crazy. It was not a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it was not it was not a lot of fun, but it's just how it goes.
Yeah. I remember, because we obviously do a lot more track prep here throughout the night than you guys do over there. You guys tend to kind of let it go, and then the track comes in and out. But I remember when Brian Brown came down and he ran in Christchurch, where we ran on the weekend, and he kept saying, "Why are you ruining the track with water?"
A lot of times you just got to let the racetrack do its thing, and but like you said, most of the tracks we've had at the spring since I've been coming down have been awesome.
Yeah.
Even like Bay Park, the races that we've had there have been really good. But just the other things go into it, but it's just crazy. Yeah, it's just different, and especially like you guys don't, because with all the ordinances and all that kind of stuff, you guys don't have the ability to go out there every day of the week and work the track like they do at home. At home, they can just go and do whatever they want, make as much noise as they want, and all that kind of stuff. So that's a lot of things you have to take into consideration as well. That they a lot of times they're at the mercy of what the council and all that let them do.
Yeah, I remember you were late to that meeting because obviously you flew in late to Ruapuna, but I remember sitting across from Zeb in that first night at Ruapuna, and they talked for so long. They said, man, you missed out. You didn't have to listen to the longest drivers meeting ever. And I was like, well, that's good. It's just, and that was another, that's where back to, I think there's some rules that could be changed, but they've been around for so long that they're probably never going to get changed. So, and as we find that we run into the same issues at home. A lot of things that maybe should be changed that probably won't, just because it's the way it's been, and that's the way it's probably always going to be. And it's tough, it's frustrating at times, but as long as that rule's there, you got to abide by it. They have kind of fixed the USAC rule, the format a little bit more.
This year, so it'd be a little more friendly to if you had a bad qualifying run or something like that. If you win your heat race, you'll start anywhere from 7th to 10th. If you won your heat race, like say you qualified 24th, you're on the pole of your heat, you won the heat, you'll start 7th if you're on the pole of the first heat. And so that makes it a little more forgiving if you do have a bad qualifying run and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes over this year. And then they're taking lap cars out throughout the whole race, just like we do down here, and most series do that at home now too. So won't be any lap cars for the whole race. And then I'm not sure what else. I think those are the two biggest changes they've made so far. So it'll be interesting to really see how that goes over. I think it'll be good. I think most changes we've made the last couple of years have been beneficial for not only the racers but the fans as well, to seeing a better show.
Double file restarts?
Nah, I don't think we'll ever get to that. I don't mind it. It's like this is probably the only place I don't mind them down here.
Okay. Because the Outlaws still do it, don't they?
Yeah, the Outlaws do it. At home, it's just it always tends to be a cluster when we try and do it. Like there was a local series that tried to do it for a year, and I think they stopped doing it halfway through the year just because it was the restart. Guys didn't know how to do it, all that kind of stuff. Like you guys have done it you do it and everything growing up down here.
I know when we first started though, it was, I don't know, we've probably done it for maybe 7-8 years now.
Yeah.
And when we first started, it was the same thing. Yeah, it was a shambles.
So guys were crashing, so they just said, screw it, we're just gonna go back to doing what we do. And I think, I don't think you'll ever see USAC go to double file restarts. I don't think.
I think it does. Like I don't mind it personally. I think it makes the racing pretty good.
There's times you get a little screwed if the track is one lane or something like that, but. Most of the racing I've been a part of down here, you always have an option. You either have a top or a bottom, and so you're not too screwed. And especially the way the starts are at the Springs, the guy can start going into 3, so it gives you time to get down if you need to get down or get up and stuff like that.
I remember listening to one of the teammates' interviews when he won at Lincoln Park, and he was saying that and I see it the same way, as when you're starting 5th, you're only behind 2 cars, like in your head,
Yep.
And sometimes you can get the 3 cars on the outside by the time you're out at 2.
We did that at the gate. We did double file restarts at the Gateway race in St. Louis, that indoor race, and I think it did produce some crazy stuff on restarts and stuff like that. But I think that whole race is a different mindset. Guys are going in there just to kind of put on a show, because there's no pressure. It's just $10,000 and put on a show for all the. There's like 20,000 people in there, so it's really cool inside of a football stadium, and just insane.
What's the biggest money midget race?
I believe the Placerville race is the biggest one. Pays $20 to win, and then like $12.5 for their points over the 2 nights. And then the BC 39 is $15, and then a bunch of other ones are like $5.
You can kind of see why guys are starting to head to the wing side.
Yeah.
When you look at that Eldora race, which was, that's one special event where it was the 175K, but That's 175K in comparison to 5K,
yeah.
you know.
And people go, oh, well, it only pays 25 per second, but you're not going there to run second.
Yeah.
If you're going there to run second, you're there for the wrong reason. It's like, and then Knoxville this year has a chance of being 200,000 to win because it's $1,000 per lap led, so it's 150 for the purse, and then if you lead all 50 laps, that's another 50 grand. So you could win $200,000 in that and walk out of there with that. And I think they have another race that's like 100 grand, the Jackson Nationals, and then they got 65,000 at Williams Grove. They have like 25s all the time, and all the races pay a minimum of 10. So just crazy to see what they race for compared to what we do. And it sucks because I think Nonwing and midget racing is some of the best racing out there, you know, from a fan standpoint. But, you know, as a career, I think this is the direction that I want to move to as well, because I think, you know, I love the World of Outlaws. You know, Steve Kinser's been one of my idols since I was little, and be cool to, you know, try and say that you did that.
Have you ever thought about going and doing any kind of stock car stuff?
Yeah, I've tried to do that kind of stuff. Just kind of comes down to how much money you got, and I don't have a whole lot of money, and so I'm happy racing sprint cars and midgets. It's a blast. I mean, you see like Kyle and those guys, they're always wanting to come back, so it can't be too fun down there, but they do make a good living, and once you do get down there, you're kind of committed to you're committing to your family, that lifestyle for a while. And so, you know, I would love to do it if the opportunity, you know, came of it, like what Gravel's got this year. I'd love to do something like that, but you know, it's just never came along. And you know, if it does, it will. And if not, like I said, I'm very happy racing midgets and sprint cars for a living. It's you know, not a lot of people get to say they can do that.
I think there is a good chunk of guys who are committed to going down the sprint car and stuff route as well. I mean, you've got those young guys like Zeb and Gio and stuff who definitely have the possibility to go and do something.
They because they're young, they're 17, 18, and they have that possibility to move on. But you know, I think they're pretty content as well. Like if it doesn't happen, that you know, they get to race sprint cars. So, but yeah, I think, you know, they're two young kids that, you know, if somebody was to take a chance on them, I think it would pay off. And yeah, it's crazy seeing, like, I'm 25 now, but I'm kind of too old for the NASCAR world. But it's just that's how it goes. It's just you know, the nature of our sport right now, and unfortunately it's that way, but it is.
They were talking, I remember on the weekend, they were talking about all the young guns there, and they kind of listed off a few, and they didn't put Brayton on that list. And Brayton was like, shit, I'm 19 and I'm like considered old.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like at home, you know, I'm basically one of the old guys in the sprint car and the USAC game now, because Zeb's 17, that Cannon McIntosh, I think he's 17. Tanner Carrick just turned 18. You know, there's all these kids, and then like me and Chris are probably in the midget side of it. We're the two oldest. He just turned 29, and I'll be 26 in April. So you look at it that way, we're 10 years older than these guys, and it's crazy.
I mean, you can kind of see where that advantage of being able to run the faster stuff earlier comes in. Because I mean, down here, Brayton was really the only one, and he was only in a TQ when he was maybe 13, 14, and then, but no one else can do it. Like, you can't go and run a midget any younger than 15 here.
Yeah, and that's. Yeah, it's crazy. It's like Zeb was running a midget when he was 13. So it's just so he's been racing a midget for 4 years by the time he's 17, and you know, 5 years after this year. So you know, it's almost longer than I've been running a midget. And just it's crazy because I think like Emerson Vincent, like he's not gonna be able to do anything until he's gonna run Kiwi kids until he's 14 or 15 or whatever. He has to do that, right?
Yeah.
And that's just great. Like I think he's gonna get bored.
Yeah.
I think he wins every race I watch. So
yeah, and it does happen. I mean, every however many years, a new kid like that comes through. Brayton was the one when we came through, and then there was another one after that, and now it's Emerson, and it'll happen again. And it is too long. I mean, you start when you can start at 7 at CTRA places like Ellesmere and stuff, and then you race till you're 15. That's 8 years.
Yeah, and
in a 200cc quarter midget.
And so like I think you should be able to. I think you should. Like, if you've proven yourself, I think there should be a process that you have to prove yourself to get to it, and just so you're not getting thrown out there. But yeah, it does suck because I think, you know, a kid like Emerson would benefit from being able to move up earlier, and you know, especially if racing is what he wants to do. I think him getting to move up is, you know, the next step for him to, you know, make a career out of this. So But I think he's pretty fortunate. I think he gets to go to the States this year. I think run the 600 stuff, the micros. So hopefully that'll help him get going in that direction as well, and maybe get him an opportunity over there.
I remember there was a big drama. Now I don't know how many years ago now, but maybe 5 or 6 years ago, about the young guys coming through in the States, and if they're mature enough was the big thing. But I mean, it definitely helps when you've got guys like Zeb and Gio and all these guys who are real mature.
It helps back up that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it helps back up that thing. If you've proven yourself that you can do it, then there won't be an issue with young guys coming through. But yeah, there was a big problem there for a while. The young guys just coming through and having no idea what they were doing because their dad was just forcing them to do it, and crashing themselves and other guys, and it was a little transition period there. But I think the crop of talent we have in the States right now, I mean, let alone you can just look at Gio and Zeb. Those kids are, they're incredible behind the wheel, and they're only 17 years old. So it's so I think but I do think they benefited from being able to move up a little bit earlier than so to say kids that don't get to.
So when we look at that photo that we were looking at before we started, how old were you there?
I'd be 17 or 18 there.
And how long had you been running kind of more than mini sprints?
That was really like my first year. I ran some midget stuff and sprint car stuff that year, but other than that, I just been running like mini sprints and all that up to that point. And then after that, it was I didn't run a lot of stuff besides sprint cars, midgets after that.
It's pretty impressive, especially. I mean, it's crazy to think that 17 is considered late.
Yeah, it is, and that's like I felt like I was late getting in a sprint car because like I had buddies that were driving when they're 15 or 16 and stuff like that. So I was like, man, I'm behind the 8 ball here, and then a lot of them guys aren't racing anymore, and I'm still doing it. So just that's another argument you can have, like maybe waiting a little longer to be more mature and stuff like that in a race car does help. But I think if you have it, you have it. And if you don't, you don't.
You tend to see that nowadays as well. As a lot of kids that get rushed through kind of lose. They either lose interest or they just
don't have it.
Yeah, or they end up splitting with their dads and stuff because it's that.
Yeah, it's just how it goes.
Yeah. Do you remember your first USAC win?
Yeah. Yep. It was a sprint week race at Gas City. I spun out. I started like 16th. I spun out on the first lap, and I just putted the bottom for the rest of the feature. And Brian was leading actually. We had a restart with like 8 to go, and I was like, man, they're going to tell me to go to the bottom. I'm not going to win this race, but you know what? It's cool. I just came from the back. I'll run second to Brian. Sprint week race, first race of sprint week. That'd be cool. Well, he went to the top on the restart. I'm like, holy crap, I'm going to win this race. Because there was nobody's going to get me off the bottom. You couldn't get me off the bottom. So I ended up winning, and he ran second, and it was incredible, man, because it was kind of like full circle for me. I kind of started on the USAC tour with him on his midget sprint car team, helping him, and then getting to beat him for my first USAC win was something really special for me. He wasn't very happy that night, but he came up to me the next night and congratulated me and all that kind of stuff. But he wasn't frustrated at me. He was frustrated, I think, more at himself and his crew guys for not telling him to go to the bottom on the restart. But just that was cool. That was seems like yesterday, but it was. That was 2016, so
I remember watching it. Yeah, I was going to say if you remembered.
Yeah, that was. I won't forget that one. That's one I'll remember for a long time.
Especially, it's a hell of a way to do it as well. Coming from the tail. Yeah,
I still have people come up to me today and say, "We thought you were a lap car," because they thought I got lapped and I was just kind of running the bottom there, and then they're like, "Oh wow, he's in second," and then I passed Brian there on that restart. So it's funny to hear those people come up and say like, "Yeah, man, we thought you were a lap car, and we still think you are," but. Yeah, I won the race.
I think that, especially with the wing racing that you're going to do this year, you think that'll be a big benefit to running non-wing? I think it'll help because I definitely noticed it before when I ran some wing stuff that it benefited my wingless racing and my midget racing. Just because when you come back from a wing car, it slows everything down because everything's happening so quick in a wing car. It's just crazy when you come back to a midget or a sprint car or non-wing sprint car. Just everything's kind of slow motion. I mean, it's still going fast, but it's just not the same pace as especially when you come from an outlaw race. That's an even different pace than so to say, an all-star race. Those guys are at a high pace the whole time. It's incredible. I think that's the trouble with running down here as well, is if you don't go over to the States like Michael did when he was young, and I suppose Max is doing now. He's running a few races over there. We only run 20, almost maximum 20 races.
And I'll do that in a month.
I know, yeah,
So,
and it just takes so long. The experience process just takes so long. It
does, and I think that's the frustrating part, because I do think you guys would benefit from it, but it's so damn expensive to go and do it. And but yeah, racing right now is price is incredibly high. But yeah, it sucks, because I wish more of you guys could come over there just so you get the experience. You know what I mean? And cause I think it'd be fun not only for you guys, but just to learn. You would learn a lot, and it's that's the thing. When we come down here, we've got 80 races that we ran throughout the year, so if there is a different type of racetrack, like say like the heat races at Christchurch with the holes and everything, like I'd seen that a few times throughout the year, so maneuvering around it wasn't hard for me. You could see some of the guys that really never dealt with that before, so it was a whole new experience.
What are your thoughts on the New Zealand competition?
I think a lot like each year I come down here, all you guys get faster and faster. So I think there's it like I said, like I think if you guys got to come do what Michael and them did, I think all of you would benefit from it. And I love you guys. Are fun to race with. Most of you are pretty clean, and you're hard races, and I like hard racing. So it's cool. It's been fun actually, like the last few years to see, especially because I think my first year down here was your first year in a midget. So seeing you kind of progress, and I watch most of the races at home when I'm not down here. So it's cool to watch all that. And I've watched Hayden for a long time, and obviously I've known Michael for a while because he came to the States and all that kind of stuff. I didn't know who he was, and they're like, oh, it's Michael Pickens, and so then I started looking him up and all that kind of stuff. So it's been cool. It's been cool to see the process and the progress of a lot of you guys. Each year I come back.
At this year's Chili Bowl, you had Jeremy Webb and your team as well.
Yeah, same thing with him. Like I think I remember the first year coming down here, he was like his first year in a midget, and but he asked as many. I said, do whatever questions you got at Chili Bowl, just ask. I said, ask away. I said, if you're annoying, I'll tell you you're being annoying. But now he asked a lot of good questions, and like I told him, I said I wish Chili Bowl was a little longer, because he was just now getting comfortable in the car right at the end of it. And it's tough to come to a race like that. You only get so many times on the track. So, but he did a really good job, and he's a good kid, man. And he's not really a kid, but he's I think he enjoyed his time, and we enjoyed having him. And I think obviously you always want to do a little better, but I think he kind of exceeded expectations, not only for us, but for himself as well.
You kind of had a tough main race this year there as well, didn't you?
Man, we just we missed something. I don't know what we missed. So it sucks, because you work all year for that race, and you get to Saturday, and it's hard enough getting to the race on Saturday, but then you spend the whole race trying to not crash, because we were just we're not very good. And it was a frustrating race, but it's something we'll sit down and hopefully figure out, and come back next year and be ready to tame that place. And like I've told a few people, I'd probably give away a couple of championships just to win at that place. And it's hard. That's a hard race, and I mean, obviously you've seen it take Kyle 14 years to win that deal. And some guys they find success early, like Christopher. They've won it he's won 3 times, and it's I wish it was as easy as they made it look.
Man, it's intense. Like you watch it, it's like a lot of it's not even good luck. Like they always say that it's just not having that bad luck.
Yeah. And they do, like they're just good. So like if you put all those things into one, like those guys, they're gonna be hard to beat, and they make it look so easy. It's incredible. They make it look like a video game. Like watching them, especially around that place, they're so good. It's crazy. And like I love when they come and race with us, because you're gonna have to step your stuff up that night, and if you could beat them, then you're beating those guys at the top of their game right now.
It's pretty humbling for guys like myself when I hear you talk about how you kind of have to step your stuff up for them, and we have to step our stuff up for you, and then there's other people.
You do, man. It's
such a chain, eh?
Yeah, it's but that's why we love racing, I think, because it is the competition, and and once you, and that's another thing, going back to getting tired of guys winning, because when you do beat those guys, it makes it even more special, because those guys are at the top right now. So when you sit back and realize, like, you just beat Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson at the top of their game, you're like, man, all right, I'm doing something. And and just getting to watch those guys in general do what they do on a racetrack is, it's just it's like a work of art. They can do things with race cars that a lot of people will never be able to.
It's interesting down here as well. We kind of, like, obviously because we don't get to race that much, and then you guys are only here for so long, everyone here kind of hangs on to, if a local does beat someone like that, everyone hangs on to it. I remember Jamie McDonald beat, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Donny Schatz in a pole shuffle, and then I beat Larson that year, my first year, and it's like
people still come and talk to you about it
every week, pretty much. Every week.
I think that's the the attraction too of us coming down here is that the fans that come to see the Americans, but when you guys do beat us, it's a huge deal, and I think that's the cool part because the fans and the country gets into it, and so it's just neat to watch all that unfold too as well. Like boxing night is crazy. This year I've never seen that many people at a racetrack, at least at the Springs,
because it was right up on the bank and everything.
And they were everywhere. It was crazy. So just it's just neat. This place is incredible, and everyone's super friendly, and I love coming back, and hopefully I can keep coming back for a while.
Do you feel like there's a different vibe down here?
Yeah, I think so. It's just it's like it's a big race and I know it's international series, but it's almost like it's a big race every week. Sometimes at home, a USAC race can just kind of feel like just a local race or anything like that. But I feel like any race here is always a big deal because there's not that many races. So like at home, we have so many races that some of them just kind of get lost in translation. But here, I think because there's not so many races that it is a big deal every time you guys do have a race.
It's definitely tough here. I mean, we've been racing for 2 months now, and we're over halfway through our season.
Yeah, and that's insane. And like mine really hasn't even ended yet.
Yeah.
So like after Florida, I'll have a few weeks off, and that'll probably be my break for the summer. You know what I mean? Like,
do you mind not having time off, or it's, at the end of the day, it is what you want to do.
Yeah, and I always tell myself, like, there's times I kind of get down about it or anything like that, but then I'm thinking to myself, man, I get to drive race cars for a living, and there's a lot of people that kill to be in my position, and I've worked my tail off to get to this spot, and I'm not just gonna just throw it all down the drain because I wanted some time off. So, if you had to have a normal job, you don't get that much time off, or really, and it's not fun. Like racing's fun.
Yeah.
So. And I get to come travel to these places and see all this, and meet new people, and make friends that are gonna last a lifetime. So it's just it does drag on you sometimes, but when you sit back and really think about what you're doing, it kind of puts everything into perspective.
I'll let you go in a sec, but I'll ask you final 3 things. So I'll ask you 3 favorites. So
all right.
Favorite track? In anywhere? Or have you run Australia?
Just Perth. Well, I ran Warrnambool once back in like that year, or the year after that. I ran the classic, and it didn't go very well. Not very well at all.
I reckon it was the haircut.
Yeah, something like that. So I don't know. I'd say right now it's between Eldora and Kokomo. I think it depends. I don't know. I love Kokomo, but I've been kind of really partial to Eldora here lately, just because of our success and stuff there. But probably one of those 2.
Favorite car?
Like midget or sprint car? Or just
go road car and midget.
All right.
And speedway, yeah.
Man, I've always been pretty into like Corvettes and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that, the new Corvette's gonna be badass. I think it's a little change of pace since it's a mid-engine one, but I think it's really cool. And then I like sprint cars. Sprint cars are just hard to beat. Like I love midgets are really fun to race, but sprint cars are just raw. Like there's so much horsepower, and just the
sound, and everything's
sprint
different.
Sprint cars are just really cool. And what was the third thing?
Third one is favorite race.
Favorite race. Whew. I don't know. Probably Chili Bowl.
Yeah,
Chili Bowl's probably my favorite race.
Cool. Awesome, man. Thanks a lot for sitting down. I mean, I don't know
problem.
if you've been up to too much.
Nah, I haven't. We didn't do a whole lot. We went out and had some drinks last night, but other than that, been pretty low key.
Cool. Looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks
buddy.